Hey, it's Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD. In my over 30 years of medical practice, I've made it my goal to help you create a great life by achieving a strong mind, a healthy body, and an unshakable spirit. I'm really excited to bring you my 4-part series on relationships, and what I'd like to talk about today is the loyalty component of those relationships. These components that I've talked about over the last 3 weeks have to do with what can make or break a relationship. And I feel that loyalty I've saved for the last because it is really, really important. Loyalty forms the foundation of trust in any relationship. And the type of relationships that I'd like to talk about today are professional and personal. Starting with professional, we all know that loyalty to a company could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. I recall when I was a resident, it was at Metropolitan Hospital in New York City, actually, Upper East Side of New York. I recall it's on 96th Street on the East Side. And I recall one day I was coming in as a medical student, actually, and everyone was congratulating the elevator operator. Okay, congratulations, great job. And I asked him what they're congratulating him about. And he told me he'd been an elevator operator for 25 years. Now talk about loyalty, right? Well, is it loyalty? Is it fear of change? It really depends. But if somebody is happy and content with their job, if they're making enough if they're earning enough to afford for their food, clothing, and shelter, and all other aspects of their life are happy, being in a job for 25 years could be very rewarding. But it's also important to understand that digging our heels in to a situation, or even going the other way into a philosophy or an ideology, if we dig our heels into those things, sometimes it's not about loyalty, but it's about fear of change. If someone is to stay with a company for 25, 30 years, it doesn't mean that they're fearful of change. They may have embraced the idea of that company taking really good care of them, meaning a 401k, good benefits, providing, as I mentioned, food, clothing, and shelter. So it's important to know that loyalty can have its benefits, but it's also important to understand the difference between being loyal and being afraid to change. Because if you do need to change, as I'm going to talk about in a minute, when we talk about personal relationships, loyalty is not always the most important thing. Loyalty in personal relationships is very important, of course, and sometimes we look at loyalty in friendships, and sometimes when those friendships become more serious, it becomes a relationship, an intimate relationship. So I'd like to talk about those two aspects of personal relationships. First, friends. Well, in a friend relationship, loyalty means being there for the person, supporting that person, appreciating that person, and doing what that person would do for you. It's living your life, in a sense, in the shoes of your friend. There have been, obviously, over the centuries, many talks about loyalty in relationships. One that stands out to me is a very interesting one of the Mongolian conqueror. There's a lot of other adjectives that might be used to describe him, but Genghis, many people know him as Genghis Khan. But it's really pronounced Genghis Khan, in the 13th century. Well, Genghis Khan conquered many nations and was particularly brutal conqueror. It was interesting, though, in his relationships, he valued more loyalty than family. In fact, in his family relationships, many of them turned very deadly. He gave more honor and more respect to friends or those who paid him loyalty or were loyal to him, more so than his own family. And there's the story, though, however, see what happens is that can be great for a while, but his best friend, his very best friend, his closest friend, growing up into teenage years, he was an orphan, his friend was an orphan. It was a very dysfunctional upbringing, which may explain for the brutality that he inflicted later on and the conquering that he did. But later in his life, he became bitter enemies with that friend. and in fact went to war with that friend. But then when that war was completed and Genghis Khan actually won, the conquered army came to Genghis Khan, turning in people in their own army who were going against Genghis Khan particularly hard and were plotting against him. What did Genghis Khan do? He actually killed the people turning in the others. He took in his friend, because his friend did not do that, and his friend became an ally, but he actually murdered those men who turned in their own men. He looked at loyalty in that respect much more so than actually the plot against his life. That's just an example of extreme loyalty. And I'm not saying we need to be extreme. We need to be smart about those people who we're loyal to. However, it can be taken to the extreme, as in that case. But let me get into what we're all been probably watching this video for, is loyalty in intimate relationships. Now, in our world, we're mammals. A mammal is a vertebrate, meaning we have a spine, a bony spine, that feeds its young through the mammary, feeds milk to its young through the mammary glands, or the breasts, women's breasts, or female breasts, to its young. That's the definition of a mammal. We are mammals. Did you know that only 5% of mammals are monogamous? That's right, 5% of all mammals. And we know a lot of them are running around, right? We see them in the wilderness, in the wild, in our backyard, whatever. We see mammals. And those mammals, only 5% are monogamous. Are we among that 5%? I'd argue no. I'd argue in our DNA, and in most DNA of mammals, we are driven to spread our seed throughout. We are bred not to be loyal. We are bred to reproduce and to do that in as many areas and many takers as we can get, okay? And that's really in our DNA. There lies the challenge in loyalty in a relationship between a man and a woman, or it could be a woman and a woman, a man and a man. It doesn't matter in any, we're talking about any intimate relationship here. And it's the idea of loyalty. Loyalty will break down when one person in that relationship goes outside of the relationship and has sexual relations with another person. So who cares, right? Why is it important to have loyalty in any type of relationship? What difference does it make? Okay, why don't we just do what we want, go where we want, screw anyone we want, right? I mean, why not? What's the big deal? Well, take it from me, all right? I can talk about this subject because I've been married 31 years. 31 years, right? And I'll be honest with you on this video, in those 31 years, I have never strayed outside of my marriage. I've been loyal to my wife. Does that mean that I didn't think about other people or being with other people? Well, I'll be honest there too. It doesn't mean that. But loyalty means commitment. Loyalty means putting the drives of our automatic brain on hold. Just a refresher on that automatic brain. Again, all mammals, all animals have an automatic brain. We have an automatic brain. The automatic brain is a part of our nature, if you will, our human nature, that does whatever we need to, by all means necessary, to protect us from danger, threat, or vulnerability. Whenever that brain detects danger, threat, or vulnerability, it causes us to fight or flee. Well, one of those dangers is our own mortality. And so we need to reproduce. We need to spread our DNA. In a sense, our automatic brain drives us to be immortal through our DNA, through our genes. And so it's a very strong drive. But as I've talked about in other videos and other writings, is that we also have a divine nature. Our divine nature is what sets us apart from any of those other 95% of mammals. We have that divine nature, which gives us a free will, which gives us a consciousness, which gives us a sense of right and wrong, which gives us a knowledge of how we can establish a strong character and we can forge in ourselves integrity. It's important, loyalty, because loyalty will foster those aspects of ourselves that we most cherish and that we most respect and that we can most appreciate about ourselves. Who doesn't want to be seen as somebody with a strong character and who has integrity? Those people who have that are those people who can resist the temptations of their automatic brain, which drives them away from those things which are truly good for us. You see, when you stray away, when you're not loyal and you don't have that firm foundation in character, it causes circumstance in life and certainly relationships to break down. But when you focus on it, when you truly focus on it, it will form and secure a foundation, a grounding of strong character and integrity. I'm going to read you a quote from one of my favorite motivational, inspirational writers and speakers, Zig Ziglar. Now, Zig Ziglar was a phenomenal orator, and he always had a very down-to-earth, common-sense approach to life, success, business, and personal success. And what he says is this: the foundation stones for a balanced success are honesty, character, integrity, faith, love, and last but not least, loyalty. So that's a little bit about what loyalty is and why it's important to stay loyal. I hope you enjoyed this relationship series. I think if you can understand these 4 components, it will help you to strengthen that relationship, not break that relationship, but strengthen your relationships. Because we know that good relationships lead to a happy, successful, and very satisfying life. So until next time, I'm Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD, urging you, stay strong in mind, in body, and in soul. Bye for now. Charles, CoachMD, thanks for stopping by. Make sure to like and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you think you have a friend who might benefit from this video, share it with them. For access to exclusive content, support my Patreon. There you'll get private access to videos, meditations, health tips, even relationship and financial tips. You'll have a say in what I produce and be able to participate in a monthly call with me. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you soon.